Hello! How you doing? Thanks for coming by. What a beautiful day, and I'm going to have a nice cup of coffee after doing my shopping. Oh, I've ruined the drawing on here. I've ruined the drawing. Anyway. I've just done some shopping and I bought some honey. I absolutely love honey, especially when I mix it with rooibos. I think that's a really nice drink, a nice alternative to tea and coffee. No caffeine, and that really nice sweet taste from the honey. And this week's photo is of a honeybee, and you can see it is carrying its basket, its sack of pollen as it goes from flower to flower, collecting pollen and nectar. Honeybees are famous, obviously, for making honey. But did you know that not many bees actually make honey? In fact, 90% of bee species are solitary. They don't live in those amazing hives that we see in nature documentaries on TV. No. A normal bee, most bees, are actually solitary. They live alone and they don't live in these huge communities. Did you know that? Bees are also famous for stinging us. Ow, 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 that horrible sensation when a bee stings you. And again, it's honeybees that normally sting people, and most other solitary bees don't actually sting us, unless of course you actually handle them or make them angry or something like that. And bees, of course, are responsible for pollinating our plants that grow into crops that we eat. In fact, about a third of total world food production depend on bees and other animal pollinators. We've got to look after them. So, what do you actually know about bees? Let's find out more.
Have you ever been stung by a bee? For many people, bees are defined by that sharp, unforgettable moment, a sudden sting, a flash of pain, and a long-lasting wariness. This reaction is understandable. The bee has injected venom, of which the key component is melittin, a substance that damages cells and strongly stimulates pain receptors. In some individuals, it can even trigger serious allergic responses. Yet the sting, while memorable, is only a small part of the story. In reality, bees are an incredibly diverse group of insects whose lives are far more complex and beneficial than their painful reputation suggests. One of the most important distinctions among bees is between social and non-social species. Social bees, such as honeybees and bumblebees, live in organized colonies, hives, with clearly defined roles. The queen, whose primary function is reproduction, workers who gather food, care for the young, and defend the hive, and at certain times, drones, whose role is to mate with the queen. These colonies function almost like a single organism, with thousands of individuals cooperating to ensure survival. In contrast, the vast majority of bee species are non-social, often referred to as solitary bees. Each female builds and provisions her own nest without help from others. Mining bees, for example, dig burrows in the ground, sometimes in astonishing aggregations. A recent case in the American state of New York described millions of non-social bees nesting beneath a cemetery. Despite the density, estimated in the millions, these bees are not cooperating like a hive. Instead, they are independent individuals drawn to the same favorable nesting conditions, creating what looks like a super colony but is really a crowded neighborhood. Regardless of their social structure, bees are essential to human society. Their most critical role is pollination, the transfer of pollen from one flower to another, enabling plants to reproduce. Approximately 1/3 of the world's total food production depends on animal pollination, including fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Even though other staple crops such as wheat, rice, and maize don't rely on bees as they are wind-pollinated, agricultural systems would face severe disruption without them, leading to reduced food availability and increased costs. Even beyond agriculture, bees support entire ecosystems by helping wild plants reproduce, which in turn sustains other wildlife. Among all bees, only a subset produce honey. Honey is primarily made by honeybees, which convert nectar into a concentrated, long-lasting food source. This behavior evolved as a survival strategy. By storing honey, colonies can endure periods when flowers are scarce, such as winter. Some other social species, like stingless bees, also produce honey, but most solitary bees do not. For them, there is no need to stockpile large reserves, since they do not maintain long-lived colonies. Communication within bee colonies can be surprisingly sophisticated. One of the most famous examples is the waggle dance, used by honeybees to share information about food sources. When a worker bee finds a rich patch of flowers, it returns to the hive and performs a series of movements that indicate the direction and distance of the resource relative to the sun. This allows other bees to locate food efficiently, demonstrating a remarkable form of symbolic communication in the insect world. So why do some bees sting other animals? Social bees are more likely to sting because they must protect their colony, which contains valuable resources like honey and developing young. Honeybees in particular have a barbed stinger that lodges in the skin of mammals, leading to the bee's death after it stings, a high cost that shows how seriously they take defense. Solitary bees, on the other hand, are less likely to sting and are generally non-aggressive unless directly handled. Beyond pollination and their defensive behavior, bees possess a remarkable range of traits. They can see ultraviolet patterns on flowers that are invisible to humans, helping them locate nectar more efficiently. Some species are capable of buzz pollination, vibrating their bodies so that the flower releases pollen. Others have specialized relationships with particular plants, evolving alongside them over time in intricate ecological partnerships. In recent years, concerns about declining bee populations have drawn attention to their vulnerability. Habitat loss, pesticide use, climate change, and disease all pose significant threats. To protect bees, we will have to conserve wild spaces and rethink how landscapes such as farms and gardens are managed. Ultimately, bees are far more than stinging insects. They are engineers of ecosystems, quiet partners in human survival, and examples of both collective and individual resilience. By understanding them better, we can shift our perspective from fear to appreciation, and hopefully to long-term protection. Chat about these questions and write down your opinions and ideas. 1. Describe the picture in as much detail as possible. How do you react when you see a bee? 2. Have you ever been stung by a bee or other insect? Have you ever been bitten by any other animal? 3. Do you eat honey? Have you ever seen inside a honeybee hive? If not, would you like to? 4. Should governments prioritize protecting pollinators even if it limits certain farming practices? 5. Do we really understand how complex it is to maintain a sustainable food supply? Discuss.